Welcome, everybody, to the nationwide prayer campaign to end abortion. Thank you for coming to pray daily so that we could end this terrible thing called abortion, which is bringing up a scourge in our nation, in our world. We've got to stop it. We've got to have a voice, and we're going to do it. God bless you all. We're going to start our prayers right now. Today we have Chris Bell, and he and his wife are the founders of Good Counsel Homes. God bless you all. Hello, everybody. Thank you for praying for us yet again, another day to end abortion forever. Today we will have Christopher Bell, and he and his wife have founded Good Counsel Home. And Chris Bell will today talk about adoption option. His wife is not with him today, but one day she will be with us. We invite her too. Um, I will introduce him now. Christopher Bell and the former Joan Andrews, both married for the first time late in life and prayed the Lord would grant them many children. They are extremely grateful to God today for their 7 children who came by birth and adoption and for their first grandchild. They met in prison thanks to their different pro-life ministries. Their Roman Catholic faith is at the core of their existence and is what motivates and sustains them. Joan became involved in the struggle to protect the preborn and restore the fundamental human rights when the U.S. Supreme Court removed all restrictions on abortion from conception through birth January 22, 1973. In 1978, she heard about the work of nonviolent direct intervention at abortion mills and became wholeheartedly involved in this rescue movement. She has organized and participated in pro-life rescues throughout North America, Eastern and Western Europe, and South America. She was arrested more than 200 times trying to save babies, along with many other pro-life people responding to God's call to action. In all, she spent more than 6 years in jails and prisons. Chris founded, along with Father Benedict Rochelle, CFR, Good Counsel Homes, helping mothers and babies before, during, and after birth. Begun in Hoboken, New Jersey during early 1985, Good Counsel is nationally recognized as a model maternity home, taking any pregnant, homeless mother in need into one of 4 homes in New York or New Jersey, allowing her to stay for 1 year, also offering her opportunities to return to school and work. Most importantly, mothers receive encouragement to grow spiritually as there is a Catholic chapel in each home. Chris is a member of Cardinal Timothy Dolan's Pro-Life Commission. He also advises other maternity homes on how to start and grow. We welcome Chris Bell. How are you, Chris?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Um, I will let you have the floor. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
You can begin.
Oh, well, thank you. Today you wanted me to speak about the adoption option and starting Good Counsel Homes. I have to explain it's not an adoption agency, it's not an adoption program per se, but from the beginning, and that goes back to 1985, some women decided they wanted to place their child for adoption. Usually, the women coming to Good Counsel, one of our now 4 homes, already had a plan in place. They were working with a lawyer or an agency. They needed housing. So our homes are for women who are pregnant in crisis. And we facilitated that by offering them the place to stay while they work with an agency or a private attorney. And what I saw, I mean, most pregnant women in certainly the area, the New York, New Jersey area that we're working with, more than 90% wanted to parent. And in fact, nationally, most single pregnant women today want to parent their child. The real crying shame is that more than 500,000 teenagers abort their children. And in the past, those are the women who typically would have planned for an adoption. Their families would have encouraged, helped, and planned for an adoption. But because abortion is now so rampant and accepted and encouraged and pushed and forced on a lot of young women, especially teenagers, those possible babies available for adoption are killed. And that's a crying shame. We talk about adoption with our moms, what it is and what it isn't. And I'll talk a little bit about that now, and then I'll talk about my story with Joan and how our adoptions came about and what others who might be considering adoption can do, what I think are the most effective ways to find a child who's available for adoption today. So, and unless you have any questions, Karen, I'll just keep rolling right along. Yeah. So the adoptions today that were not available in years past are called open adoptions or semi-open adoptions or partially open adoptions, or a closed adoption. Now, a closed adoption is what you typically would think of as an adoption, and that is the mother places the child usually in the arms of an agency or a couple that they really don't know very well, and then that's it. Well, today, that mother can choose who the couple is. Absolutely. Can go through profiles, can interview, can discuss, can discover whatever they want in terms of faith, in terms of educational background, in terms of economic background, whatever that mother thinks is important for the life of her child, she can choose that in a couple. And believe me, there are millions, literally millions of couples looking to adopt in the United States today. So a mom who's pregnant who wants to plan an adoption, she can pick whomever she wishes. And still, if she chooses, that adoption can be closed, even in the state of New Jersey, where it's very difficult because the legislators have made it almost impossible, but not totally impossible, for that baby to be placed and closed, meaning that child would not be able to find out who the mother is. But in most cases, most moms would like that child, maybe when the child is older, to discover who she is, or at least to have the opportunity to find her. And that's available. And a semi-open adoption would also allow for that mother to keep in touch with the couple. That's an agreement the mother makes with the couple or the agency beforehand, saying, I'd like to get pictures of my baby. I'd like to write to my baby as that child grows up. And there's an agreement made on how frequent that is, maybe even an occasional visit. Not that the mother would reclaim the child, but just that baby would know, that child growing up would know who his birth mother is. And then there's a totally open adoption where it's not just an occasional letter or visit, but where that mother is involved, but from an arm's length, still would see the child on a very regular basis or more regular basis. So a pregnant mom planning an adoption can choose not only who that couple is, who that family is, but also how frequently that baby is seen by that mother. And really, the sky's the limit in terms of frequency and age and, contact is the word. So when Joan and I got married, we were an older couple, right? And nobody knows, I don't care how young you are or how old you are, whether you're going to conceive, whether you're going to have a child or many children or no children. Unfortunately, infertility seems rampant today. Certainly, it's never been a given, but it seems much more common today for a host of reasons. And Joan and I discussed before we walked down. She walked down the aisle. I walked across the front of the altar to meet her on our wedding day. We discussed whether we'd be open to adoption or not, and we both readily, really, that wasn't much of a discussion. Yes, we're open to adoption, but then what does that mean? And we said to each other, well, this is 1991 when we were married. There weren't many babies in America nationally available for adoption. Fortunately, today, in 2020, there are many more, but then there were very few. So we said, well, certainly we'd be open to receiving a child outside of the country. Number two, we didn't need a baby that looked exactly like us. You know, we both have Irish, Scottish blood. I'm also Italian and a little German, and Joan, I think she's got a little German, but no Italian in her. But we didn't need a baby with our kind of ethnic or even our skin color background. That was one of our first easy decisions. The second one was maybe we should be open to special needs. Now, what does that mean? We didn't know, quite honestly, but, you know, we said to ourselves, we should be open to receiving a child who has special needs. And then Joan was inspired to say, I think we should tell every mother going into the abortion mill, every mother going into Planned Parenthood, that we would adopt their baby. And we knew, certainly Joan had much experience, much more than I did, in front of those places of death, that many of the women are told, spuriously, by the way, that their child would be deformed or defective or have some kind of abnormality. And quite frankly, between Joan and I, and we must know hundreds of couples, and we're talking about family and friends personally, who were told by their doctor the baby was going to be deformed, the baby was going to have a genetic defect, the baby was going to have something wrong with it. And in all the cases that we know personally, where the doctor said that to a family member or friend, the doctors were wrong. The babies were born perfectly healthy. So any mother, anyone listening to me, anybody who knows a pregnant mother who's told there's something wrong with the baby, the first thing you do is get a second opinion and get it from a pro-life doctor. Make sure you're getting it from a doctor who is not able or encouraging abortion because they're afraid of a lawsuit, or they also do abortions on the side, or whatever reason. Those statistics of doctors telling women there's a problem and there's not are very high. Nobody's done the study on it because doctors don't like to study their mistakes. But believe me, they're very high. But in the cases, obviously, some babies are born with abnormalities. And Joan and I decided we would not only tell women going in for an abortion, we'll adopt your baby, but if that mom said, my baby's going to be deformed, or the doctor told me it has a handicap, we'd say, fine, we'll adopt your baby too. And in doing that, we told all of our pro-life friends who regularly go out and counsel in front of abortion mills, tell the women going in, we'll adopt the baby, even if the baby is handicapped or disabled or whatever the problem is. Well, not only did our pro-life friends say that, our pro-life friends said, oh, we'll do that too. We had a list. This is back in 1991, 92, 93, 94, 95. We had a list of more than 24 couples who would adopt a child no matter what the medical, psychological condition was. And we know couples who adopted children who have alcohol fetal syndrome, which is really causes havoc on that poor child, mentally and physically. We know couples who were certainly willing to adopt Down syndrome babies. In fact, you cannot find a Down syndrome baby available for adoption because the families who have given birth to Down syndrome children know what a joy and what a love those children are, and what great adults they grow up to be, because someone with Down syndrome is usually very simple, very straightforward, no guile. They love to hug you. They're just innocent children. They're innocent adults. So anybody who's had or knows closely a Down syndrome person knows that they'd be willing to adopt them as well. So that's why they're hard to adopt, although many, many couples are aborting them in America today because of pressure, because of misinformation, because of fear, whatever. But there are couples willing to adopt. There are couples willing to adopt trisomy 18 babies. And those are babies who maybe have multiple different abnormalities. But those children, if given love, if given medical care, they may or may not live very long. I've known children with trisomy 18 living into their teen years. And doctors will not tell you that, because doctors who discover that in utero right away say, the baby's only going to live a few months. They don't have any studies on babies living longer than that. They say even days or hours. Well, yes, that baby will die early if given no medical attention at all. We live in the 21st century. In the United States of America, we have the best and most advanced medical technology in human history. So if these children are given some care and concern, they may not live like you and I are living, but if loved, they will live a lot longer. And even if that child only lives a few days, and you can go on YouTube and type in trisomy 18 babies, and there was one beautiful YouTube done. This baby, I think, only lived 91 days. And every day that couple, that family, I think they had other children, celebrated a birthday with balloons and cakes. The little boy, I think it was a little boy, didn't live very long, but they celebrated his little life every day. And what a joy. And you know, where there's love, there's life. And where there's life, there's hope. And where there's hope, there's creativity, because that's what God is. God is love, and God creates. And no matter how we come out, we all have some little defect. I mean, now I'm going bald, but we all have some human condition that's not perfect. And so some of us who maybe have more obvious physical or mental challenges, well, the rest of us, we're here to love each other, right? To help each other. So Joan and I started telling people. We collected a list of other couples, many other couples willing to adopt. And then through all that, somebody in Philadelphia, we were up in New Jersey, said, oh, we know a couple who are working with children in Mexico to be adopted, and they know about a special needs child. Well, that led us to meet Bob and Anna Iatesta, who then told us in Mexico City of children in a hospital with special needs, and would we be interested and willing and able to go down there. And through the grace of God, our friends gave us some support because we didn't have much money either. And we went to Mexico City, and we found our first and actually our oldest son, Emiliano. And Emiliano has arthrogryposis. It's a special joint disease. It looks like his arms and legs are stiff. Many children born with arthrogryposis, they're usually born in a fetal position, very difficult, but their minds are, fairly normal, emotionally fairly stable. And so we adopted Emiliano. We had already, well, I should back up a little bit, given birth to our first child, a little baby girl at the time. This is going back now almost 29 years. Well, we were married 29 years ago. We gave birth to Mary Louise almost a year to the day of our first wedding anniversary. Because when we got married, we prayed for many children. We asked everybody, don't give us gifts, pray that we have many children. And Mary was born actually a month before our first wedding anniversary. And then we went on to keep talking about adoption, and we found Emiliano in Mexico, and we brought him back. And we found, through the grace of God and Shriners Hospitals, free medical care for his legs and arms. They are really great with ambulatory and hand issues. And it was a long trip. from New Jersey, several hours to Philadelphia, where they were based. But again, it was a loving trip, and we found out about that care. So Joan continued to fill out forms with different agencies saying we would accept children with special needs. We continued to tell our friends in front of the abortion mill, to tell the women we, know couples willing to adopt, even if their child has special needs. And some other couples did adopt through that means, mothers going in who were turned away from abortion, and they, then planned an adoption. Some women, because they heard that message as they were going in to have an abortion, stepped back and said, well, if you're willing to adopt, maybe I'll give birth. And when they gave birth to a healthy child, they decided not to go through with the adoption, but they did give life to their child, who otherwise would have been killed on that day. So you never lose anything by telling women who are planning an abortion, hey, I'll adopt your baby. And if you who are saying this aren't able and willing to adopt, well, then contact me, at cxbell@aol.com. And we'll find an adoptive couple. Again, whether that child has special needs or not. I always know couples willing to adopt children with special needs. So don't worry about that. And the more you talk about it, the more couples you may find wherever you live. But never, ever hesitate to tell women going in for an abortion, I'll find somebody to adopt your baby, because we will, absolutely will, find a couple willing to adopt that child. So after Emiliano, Joan kept filling out forms. One Friday night, about 10 o'clock, the phone rings at home, and the woman on the other end, with a very deep Slavic voice, says, is Joan Bell there? And I say, yes. I said, who is this? Dr. Blackburn. I never heard of her before. I said, okay. So I gave the phone to Joan. I said, Joan, it's Dr. Blackburn. She didn't recognize the name right away. And she gets on the phone. She says, yes, yes. Oh, yes, right away. And she hangs up and she says, we're going to adopt 2 children in Russia. And I said, oh. So as it turned out, there was a 5-year-old, actually it was almost 4.5-year-old boy whose sister was just about 2 years old. And because he was almost turning 5, they were going to separate them from each other. They were in the same orphanage. Now they'd be separated forever. But both of them only had 2 digits on their hands and feet. They were born with this fetal abnormality. We later found out their father had the same genetic condition. And nobody was willing to adopt them, or she didn't think, Dr. Blackburn didn't think she could find anyone. But Joan always filled out on the form, we would consider special needs children. Again, not really fully appreciating or understanding what that meant. We'd see what the Lord would send us. So we flew to Russia, to Moscow, and then we took another 8-hour train trip to Bryansk, south and east of Russia, almost on the Ukrainian border. And it was there in an orphanage run by the government where we met Andreev and Irina, full-blooded brother and sister, blonde hair, light eyes, beautiful children. And it was there that we picked them up. And we didn't know at the time, there was another little girl there, whom in another couple of years, we would go back for. This was when we took Andreev and Irina back. It was 1999. No, almost 2000. Yeah, 99. Because then we went back in 2001. There were another 2 children in the same orphanage. So Dr. Blackburn, of course, we stayed in touch, and she said, look at these 2 children. One, Valera had a severe clubbed feet, and on her left hand, 2 of her fingers are webbed, and she has a thumb. And the other little girl, Teresa, we now call her. Today's her feast day. We're very happy to celebrate. Was born without any hands. just has two stumps there, and without a right leg above the knee. Well, with all of our children, we go to Shriners Hospital. By the time Teresa turned 2 years old, when she came to live with us in 2001. By the way, it was right after 9/11. We went in October, so it was a little different kind of flight. It was a different time, rather I'd say more strenuous than normal. But with all things, we put it in the hands of God. And again, in each of our adoptions, we were blessed, greatly blessed by family and friends who assisted us, because again, we didn't have the money for the flights. We didn't have a lot of things, but the Lord provided. And so that's what I would say to anybody interested in adoption. First of all, think about, would you consider special needs? And what does that mean? I don't know, but you can think and pray about that. Maybe it might be difficult for you to have a certain type of special needs or other, but whether it's in some states like New Jersey, if you're an older child, older than 2, 4, 6, 10, 12, that's considered already special needs, because most people do want a baby, and even younger children, that you don't always know when a child is born, or even 2 or 3 or 4 years old, whether what their functions are going to be intellectually, emotionally. But love not only covers a multitude of sins, love covers a lot of life. Because in reality, people, when you get married, you hope and pray you want children. Your own children could have some special needs you don't know at birth, or you don't know until they're teenagers, or you don't know until they're young adults. Whatever it is, you don't know your own children could have something that's challenging in life. But you love your children. And if God is planning an adoption for you, if you're open to that adoption, pray about the kind of love you have to take that child into your heart, not just your home, really into your heart, and love that child. Think of the special adoptions that were made in Scripture. Think of Moses' adoption, taken into the Pharaoh's home. You can bet Pharaoh's daughter didn't expect this little baby to free all the Israelites from slavery. But that's what God planned. Think of Joseph, Saint Joseph, who betrothed the Blessed Mother. He didn't know he was betrothing the Immaculate Conception, and he was the foster father of the infant Jesus. So, God has plans if you're open to adoption. Your children may not be like Moses and Jesus for certain, but God will give you the grace with your own born children or your own adopted children. And in reality, yes, we've struggled in our own family. Our children fight like siblings. There's another adoption I don't mean to forget, but she had another special place, and she was scheduled for an abortion. Our dear Philomena, her mother, went to Planned Parenthood 3 times in Nashville, Tennessee. And the first time she went, she counted out the money before she went there. They wanted $300. She was poor, but she was too afraid to, have this baby. So she scraped together $300. She counted out. When she got to Planned Parenthood, she was $5 short. For that $5, the Planned Parenthood worker said, "Come back when you have the money." Well, thank God they said that, come back, or really go away. But when she went back again, this is almost unbelievable. She got in there, she had the money. The electricity went out. They could not perform the suction abortion they wanted to. Talk about God's providence. The next time she went, it was a Saturday morning, and our friends were out there, and they said to her, "Don't go in there. We don't want you to have this abortion." And she really didn't want it in her heart, although this is the 3rd time she went there. She was so full of fear, so afraid to give birth to this child, not having any money, actually being outside of her own country. And so She said, but I don't have any place to stay. They say, we'll find you a place. She said, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. She said, don't worry. We'll find someone to pay for you. So they put Philomena's mom with my sister-in-law, Joan's sister, in Tennessee, who lives there. And very long story short, Saint Philomena became very important to this mother's life. And when she gave birth, she gave her the name Philomena, who was our only national adoption. And when I was holding Philomena at 2 months old, we adopted her from day one, but I'm looking down at her at 2 months, and then it hit me. Philomena, that saint, has been in my Italian family's family for over 200 years. My mother's oldest sister was named Philomena from her both born grandparents, but her parents, my grandparents. Well, you usually name the oldest child after the father's mother. So that must mean my grandfather's mother was named Philomena and her father's mother. And because my grandfather was born in Muliana del Cardinal, where Saint Philomena is interred in that church. So you see, Philomena, that saint, was really looking out, I think, over our little Philomena and protecting her, and brought it to our home and our family. So we feel very, very blessed. And that was directly caused by a woman going in to having an abortion. And I've met other couples. I know other couples who adopted by that way. So if you're interested in adoption, go out to the abortion mill. Tell every woman going in there, I'll adopt your baby. And if they say the baby's going to be handicapped, you tell them, if you're willing to, I'll adopt that baby anyway. Or you say, I'll find a couple. We will find a couple who will care and love your child for life, And know too, again, even if that mother doesn't finalize that adoption, then you've helped save a life. Absolutely, no doubt. And you may help save many lives by just saying that, because it gives the woman pause to think, wait a minute, I can do this then, or I'll try, or I'll see. If that baby lives, I can plan this adoption. So that's what I tell anybody who's interested in adoption, because Good Counsel Homes, where we care for women and children, is not an agency for adoption. But go out to the abortion mills, consider special needs adoption, and tell that to every adoption agency you run into. The agencies I used to recommend, they're either not doing adoptions anymore, or it's really hard to find a good agency to recommend. Our world has changed a lot in the last 29 years. And so many agencies have fallen through to the culture. To find a good Catholic charity that is able and willing to plan an adoption, that's kind of hard. And that's the only ones I could really recommend, those that will follow faithful Christian principles. So, Karen, that's it. I don't know if you have any questions or you want me to share anything else.
I'm going to make sure that they could hear this. I'm going to ask you now, in these times, now that we have a president who is pro-life and he's encouraging adoption, is it easier, or is he going to make it easier for people to adopt, or make it more, you know, how would you say it? I don't want to say the word is palatable, but something more attractive for them to adopt. And I encourage all people that if you could put into your prayers that people who have love in their heart, that they have love to give children, that they contemplate adoption. We need more people to step up and to help in this ministry. It is a mission. It really is a mission. So what do you think, Christopher?
Well, I think the pro-life legislation, the pro-life regulations that this president has enacted, encouraged, supported, have made it a lot better for not only pro-lifers and adoptive couples, but for women who are pregnant and in crisis. I think women have to know at any age, whether they're a teenager or a young adult or an older woman who's pregnant and in crisis, there's help for them. And that's what we need to tell every woman in crisis. And unfortunately, in states like New York and New Jersey, and it happens to be run by the other party, that other party has been decimating life. They've been encouraging and pushing abortion. They've been restricting adoption. They've been making it very, very hard for a woman to plan the kind of adoption that she wants to plan. So it's really a strong dichotomy between our president and the other party. And I've seen it just in my lifetime, and I've seen it in the states where I live, and I know about it in other states run by that other party. And it's sad. It's so sad because it doesn't have to be that way. And you'd think that people could come together to support a woman in a crisis pregnancy, to support her through life, and whether she plans an adoption or she plans to parent on her own. That's what we do at Good Counsel. We help her plan whatever she really wants. Most women plan to parent as a single mother. Some women wind up going out after they leave us, get married, have other children. You know, it's we're very much to support the loving options. And again, in this country with the greatest medical technology and so many loving people, there's so much we can do. We should
Is a
never.
big deterrent to abortion the cost of abortion?
I'm not sure of the question, but we should never, never encourage to kill the life of a child. Regardless of how difficult the situation of the mother is in, regardless if the woman has a handicap herself, whether she's mentally ill. We take women who have mental health problems into Good Counsel. We take women who are drug addicts into Good Counsel. And the life of that child helps the mom turn their lives around. And for a woman with a mental health issue, it helps her heal. Because if she is aborted, it creates greater trauma, greater stress. It's never the right answer. Death is never an answer.
Yeah, I encourage people to listen to this. This is so true. We're so pro-life. We love children. We love life. We love God. And what I was saying, I don't know if you heard me, but do most people find it a deterrent to adopt because of costs, or they think that it's really
Oh,
costly?
yeah. People usually are overwhelmed with the cost because the cost of an agency can be tens of thousands of dollars, $10,000, $20,000. But there are ways, there are means. Different states have programs where you can be a foster parent and then adopt, and that's another means to that end. I do want to say one caveat, or actually just one. I don't even want to call it a caveat or a warning. I want to say it's to recognize whether you adopt a newborn or you have your own child, whether you adopt an older child where you think you know more about their background. The reality is every child needs love, and every child, like you and me, we are a fallen race. We are born with original sin, whether you want to believe it or not. We're broken people, and we all need love to heal us and to help us. So, yes, whether a child is adopted or born, recognize there are challenges. Many, children, many families may have completely wonderful lives, and God bless you. But even in our life, we do have the cross. There are challenges, there are difficulties, there are heartbreaks, but that is the world where we live. And how do we overcome all of our challenges, all of our heartbreaks? It's not just the faith of Jesus Christ, it's the love of Jesus Christ. It's God's love for us, for you and for me, that allows us to get up in the morning, regardless of the difficulty, and to face the day and to do the best we can. And even when we fall, as certainly I do every day, multiple times a day, it's through the grace of God and the love of Jesus where we can help others, and we help each other, and we help ourselves. I
Thank you
hope that.
so much. Thank you so much, Christopher Bell, and he'll be back tomorrow to talk about Good Counsel Homes. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Christopher Bell.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. God bless you,
God
Karen.
bless you. Everybody, I ask you please to subscribe and to like this video, and please come back tomorrow for more prayers. We need to do these prayers. They're precious. We need to get rid of abortion forever, that it is not legal in our country, and it is not upon our the citizens of this country that having the fault on us. We need to get rid of it. We need to stand strong and be verbal about it, and just don't let it happen anymore. So please subscribe, and you'll get notifications for each day we pray. God bless you, love you, and we'll see you soon. Hi, my name is Karen. To stop abortion since May 13th, 2020, and we try to do prayers each day, every day, with speakers. If you would like to donate to this worthy cause to stop abortion, something that is righteous in the eyes of God, please donate to us at johnleaps.com, johnleaps, Leaps.com, or call 800-313-6933. We could really use it, and we thank you very much. God bless you all.